Welcome to Fear Ain't Fiction, where the stories are strange and the fear is real. All right, look, I don't tell this story often because people either don't believe me or they get too uncomfortable when I do. But this happened to me back in 2019, late summer, and I still think about it every time I drive through Oak Cliff after dark. I was staying with my cousin off Clarendon Drive, right near that stretch where all the old houses got those deep porches and the streetlights don't really work like they supposed to. You know the area, by the chicken spot that's never actually open, across from that corner store with the bars on the windows so thick you gotta slide your money through that slot. It was a Friday night, maybe 11:30, and I was walking back from my girl's place. She stayed over on Illinois Avenue, and I didn't have my car that weekend because my transmission was acting up, so I'm hoofing it. About a 20-minute walk, nothing crazy. I'd done it 100 times. The streets were quiet, not empty but quiet. You'd see a car roll by every few minutes, hear somebody's music thumping from a backyard, dogs barking a few blocks over. Normal Oak Cliff summer night energy. I'm walking down Clarendon, passing these old shotgun houses, and I noticed this one porch light, bright red, not like a bulb that's tinted red or one of those decorative string lights. I'm talking about a single bulb screwed into the socket above a front door, glowing deep blood red. Now, I've seen colored porch lights before, blue for autism awareness, green for veterans, whatever, but this red was different. It was too bright, and it didn't flicker or dim like a regular bulb. It just stayed solid, like it was pulling power from somewhere else. I slowed down a little as I passed the house. Couldn't help it. The place looked abandoned. Grass overgrown, chain link fence leaning, windows dark except for that red light bleeding across the porch. No car in the driveway, no sound coming from inside. But here's the thing that made my stomach drop. There was someone sitting on the porch. I couldn't make out details at first because the red light was so harsh it kind of washed everything out. But I could see the outline, a figure, just sitting there in one of those old metal chairs, completely still, facing the street, facing me. I kept walking, told myself it was just somebody cooling off, minding their business. But my instincts were screaming at me to move faster, so I did. I got maybe half a block down when I felt it. That pressure on the back of your neck when you know someone's watching you. I didn't want to look back, but I did anyway. The figure was standing now, still on the porch, but standing at the edge of the steps, right under that red light, and even from half a block away I could tell they were tall, too tall, like 7 feet, maybe more. Their arms hung down past their knees. I turned back around and started walking faster, not running. You don't run in Oak Cliff at night unless you want attention. But I was moving with purpose. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I made it to the corner, about to turn onto 10th Street when I heard it. Footsteps. Not regular footsteps. These were heavy, slow, deliberate, like someone wearing boots that were too big, dragging their feet slightly with each step. And they were getting closer. I looked back again. The figure was in the middle of the street now, walking toward me under the broken streetlights. Every time they passed under a working light, I could see them clearer, but it didn't make sense. Their proportions were wrong. Arms too long, legs too thin, head tilted at an angle like their neck couldn't hold it straight, and they were smiling. I could see that even from a distance. This wide, unnatural smile that stretched too far across their face. That's when I ran. I don't care what I said earlier about not running. I bolted. Cut through somebody's yard, hopped a fence, came out on Marsalis Avenue, and didn't stop until I was back at my cousin's house, with the door locked behind me. My cousin asked why I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I just told him I got chased by a crackhead and left it at that. But that wasn't what chased me. Here's the part that messes me up the most. 2 days later, I'm driving through Oak Cliff in the daytime, and I passed that same house, the one with the red porch light, the light still on, in broad daylight, glowing red in the middle of the afternoon. But the house, it's condemned, boarded up. Chain link fence got a no trespassing sign zip tied to it. Grass is dead and yellow. Nobody's lived there in years. I asked around the neighborhood later, real casual, didn't want to sound crazy. One of the older folks told me that house has been empty since the early 2000s. Said the last family that lived there lost their son in a shooting right on that porch. Said his mama kept a red light on for months after he died, waiting for him to come home. Then she disappeared too. Now every time I drive through Oak Cliff at night, I check for that red light. And sometimes, I swear on everything, I still see it burning. And sometimes, there's still someone sitting on that porch, waiting. This happened in the winter of 2018. I was visiting my boy who stayed in Parkway Gardens, O Block, over on King Drive. If you know, you know. If you don't, just understand it's not a place you visit after dark unless you got a reason to be there. I had a reason. My boy D was moving out, finally got a job in Indiana, and he needed help packing up his apartment. It was on the 6th floor, west side of the building. I told him I'd come through on a Sunday afternoon, help him box everything up, maybe grab Harold's after. I got there around 4 p.m., still light out, cold as hell but clear skies. I parked on the street, texted D that I was outside, and he told me to come on up, doors open. Now, the elevator in that building was trash. Everybody knew it. Half the time it didn't work, and when it did, it smelled like piss and moved slower than walking. So I took the stairs. The stairwell was concrete, narrow, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Some floors the lights worked, some didn't. Typical project stairwell. Graffiti on the walls, cigarette butts in the corners. That echo that makes every sound feel 10 times louder. I'm climbing, passing the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor, no problem. Then I hit the landing between the 5th and 6th floor and I hear it, crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just soft. A kid crying somewhere above me. I stopped and listened. It sounded like it was coming from the 6th floor landing, right where I was headed. I figured maybe it was one of the neighbor's kids. Somebody got locked out or something, so I kept climbing. When I reached the 6th floor landing, the crying stopped. Nobody there. Just a door to the hallway and the door to keep going up to the 7th floor. Both closed. No kid, no nothing. I stood there for a second, listening, silence, just that, buzzing from the fluorescent light above me and the hum of the building. I shook it off, pushed through the door into the 6th floor hallway and headed to D's apartment. We worked for a couple hours. Boxes, broke down furniture, talked shit, normal moving day stuff. Around 6:30, it's getting dark outside, and I tell D I'm gonna run down to my car and grab the dolly from my trunk so we can move the heavy stuff easier. I head back to the stairwell. The lights are dimmer now, or maybe it just feels that way because it's darker outside. I start heading down, and when I pass the 6th floor landing again, the same spot where I heard the crying earlier, I hear it again, but this time it's not crying. It's whispering, a kid's voice, soft, like they're trying not to be heard. And it's coming from the stairwell going up to the 7th floor. I stop, look up. The door to the 7th floor is cracked open, just slightly, maybe an inch, and I can see darkness on the other side. The whispering continues. I can't make out the words, but it sounds like a little boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, and he keeps repeating the same thing over and over. I should have kept walking. I should have gone straight to my car. But something made me ask, "Yo, you good up there?" The whispering stopped. Then, after a few seconds of silence, I hear footsteps. Small footsteps, like a kid running, but they're not running away. They're running toward the door, toward me. I don't wait. I bolt down the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, and I don't stop until I'm out of the building and back at my car. My hands are shaking so bad I dropped my keys twice trying to unlock the door. I texted D, told him I'd be back in a minute, and sat in my car trying to catch my breath and make sense of what just happened. After about 10 minutes, I go back up. This time I take the elevator. I don't care how nasty it is. When I get back to the apartment, D asks why I look spooked. I tell him what happened in the stairwell. He goes quiet for a second, then says, "Man, You heard about the kid, right? I didn't. He tells me that a few years back, a little boy got locked in that stairwell overnight during the winter. He was playing hide and seek with his cousins, hid in the stairwell going up to the 7th floor, and the door locked behind him. The 7th floor was abandoned, had been for years. No way out. They didn't find him until the next morning. Froze to death. Dee said people hear him sometimes, crying, whispering, running up and down those stairs like he's still trying to find his way out. I helped Dee finish packing that night, but I never took those stairs again, and I never went back to O Block after dark, because some places hold on to what happened there, and some voices never stop calling for help. This is the one that still keeps me up at night, not because of what I saw, but because of what I didn't see until it was almost too late. Summer of 2020. I was working overnight security at a warehouse in East New York, and I'd usually take the 3 train home around 6 a.m. when my shift ended. I'd get off at Rockaway Avenue, grab a bacon, egg, and cheese from the bodega, and walk the rest of the way to my place off Livonia. But this one morning, I messed up. I fell asleep on the train. I don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, the train was pulling into a station I didn't recognize right away. I looked up at the sign, and my stomach dropped. Sutter Avenue, Brownsville. I'd missed my stop by 2 stations and ended up deep in the Ville. Now look, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm not scared of Brownsville, but I also know better than to be walking around there at 6:30 in the morning when I got no business being there. Wrong time, wrong place, wrong face in the wrong neighborhood. The train doors opened and I thought about staying on, riding it back to Rockaway. But the next stop was New Lots, the end of the line, and I didn't feel like waiting for the train to loop back, so I got off. The platform was empty, not a single person, just me, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead, and that smell every subway station has: hot metal, piss, and old concrete. I headed toward the stairs to exit the station, and that's when I noticed the guy standing at the far end of the platform. He was just standing there, facing the wall, hands at his sides, completely still. I slowed down. Something about it felt off. You ever see someone and your brain just goes, "That's not right"? That's what this was. I kept walking toward the exit, keeping an eye on him. He didn't move, didn't turn around, just stood there facing that wall like he was in timeout. I reached the stairs and started heading up. The station exit is one of those long staircases that curves halfway up, so you lose sight of the platform once you start climbing. I was about 10 steps up when I heard it. Footsteps behind me, fast. I looked back and my heart stopped. The guy from the platform was at the bottom of the stairs now, looking up at me. But he wasn't standing still anymore. He was running. I didn't think. I just bolted up those stairs as fast as I could. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps echoing in the stairwell, getting closer. I hit the turnstile, jumped over it, and burst out onto the street. It was barely sunrise. Streets were empty except for a couple of corner boys posted up across the street and an old lady dragging a shopping cart toward the bus stop. I didn't stop running until I hit Rockaway Avenue and ducked into the first open store I saw, a 24-hour deli. The guy behind the counter looked at me like I was crazy. "Yo, you good?" I'm breathing hard, looking out the window, waiting to see if dude followed me out of the station. But there's nobody, just the empty street and the early morning light starting to creep over the buildings. I told the deli guy I was good, bought a water, and sat down in the back of the store for a minute to catch my breath and figure out my next move. That's when I noticed something. My phone was open. I don't remember opening it, but the screen was on, showing my contacts, and there was a number I didn't recognize at the top of my recent calls. A call I didn't make. It was outgoing. Lasted 6 seconds. Made at 6:28 a.m., right around the time I woke up on the train. I stared at that number for a full minute before I worked up the nerve to call it back. It rang once, then someone picked up. No words, just breathing. Heavy, slow breathing. And then, in the background, I heard it. The subway. The same automated voice that announces stops on the 3 train. "This is Sutter Avenue. Stand clear of the closing doors." Then the line went dead. I deleted that number, cleared my call history, and I never took the 3 train past Rockaway Avenue again. But here's the thing that messes me up the most. A few weeks later, I'm scrolling through Citizen app, you know, the one that shows local crime reports, and I see a post from that same morning, same station, Sutter Avenue, 6:42 a.m. Man found unresponsive on subway platform. No signs of trauma. Cause of death unknown. I clicked on the report. They didn't have a name, but they had a photo from the scene. It was him, the guy who chased me up the stairs. And according to the timestamp on the report, he was already dead when I saw him. This happened in July 2021, middle of summer in Lakeland, Florida. If you've never been to Central Florida in July, just know it's hot in a way that makes you feel like you're breathing through a wet towel. The kind of heat where even at 9 p.m., the air is still thick and heavy. I was staying with my uncle off Lime Street near the Moorhead area. I just moved down from Atlanta trying to get away from some drama up there, figuring Lakeland would be slower, quieter. My uncle told me I could crash with him for a few months while I figured things out. That night, I walked down to the corner store, little spot called Quick Stop, right on the corner of Lime and 9th. Nothing fancy. Plexiglass at the counter, bars on the windows, refrigerators along the back wall humming loud enough to hear from outside. But they stayed open late, and the owner was cool, didn't ask questions. I went in to grab some Newports and a Gatorade. It was just me, the owner behind the counter, older Dominican guy named Cisco, and one other customer. That's when I recognized him, Marcus. I knew Marcus from back in the day. We weren't tight or anything, but we'd run in the same circles when I used to visit my uncle during summers as a kid. He was a few years older than me, always had money, always had a crew, smart dude. Could have done something legit if he wanted to, but Marcus made other choices. I nodded at him. He nodded back, didn't say anything, just grabbed a Red Bull from the fridge and walked up to the counter. I stayed toward the back, looking at the chips, trying to decide if I wanted something to eat. That's when I heard the cars, 2 of them, pulled up fast, tires screeching, engine still running. I looked toward the front of the store and saw the lights, red and blue flashing through the windows. Police. Marcus saw them too. His whole body went stiff. He looked at Cisco, then at me, then back at the door. "Shit," he said under his breath. Cisco ducked behind the counter. I froze by the chip rack. Marcus pulled a gun from his waistband. "Yo, I'm sorry," he said, to nobody in particular. Then he ran toward the back of the store, toward the storage room, looking for another way out. I dropped to the floor, didn't think, just reacted. Got down behind the refrigerators, pressing myself flat against the cold linoleum. The front door burst open. "Lakeland Police, show me your hands." I heard footsteps, heavy boots, multiple officers. Then I heard Marcus from the back of the store. "I didn't do it. I swear to God I didn't do it. Drop the weapon. Drop it now." I was laying there, heart pounding so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. I could see Cisco under the counter, hands over his head, eyes squeezed shut. I could hear Marcus breathing hard somewhere in the back, probably trapped, probably knowing this was it. Then the shot started. I don't know who fired first. Maybe Marcus, maybe the cops. But once it started, it didn't stop. The sound was so loud it felt like it was inside my skull. The refrigerator shook, glass shattered. I heard yelling, boots running, more shots, then silence. Not total silence. I could hear ringing in my ears, somebody's radio crackling, boots crunching over broken glass. But the shooting had stopped. I stayed down, didn't move, barely breathed. One of the officers came around the refrigerators and saw me. "Hey, don't move. Let me see your hands." I put my hands up, still flat on the ground. "I'm not with him. I was just buying something. I don't have a gun." The officer kept his weapon on me for a few seconds, then lowered it slightly. "Stay down. Don't move until we clear the scene." I stayed down. They brought Marcus out a few minutes later. He was still alive, but barely. Blood all over his shirt, hands cuffed behind his back even though he could barely stand. Two officers were holding him up, dragging him toward the door. As they passed me, Marcus looked down. Our eyes met. He wasn't scared. He wasn't angry. He just looked tired. "Tell my mom I'm sorry," he said to me. His voice was barely a whisper. Then they took him outside. I heard the ambulance pull up a few minutes later. The officers kept me and Cisco there for over an hour, asking questions, taking statements, checking IDs. They kept asking if I knew Marcus, if I was involved, if I'd seen anything before they arrived. I told them the truth. I knew him from years ago. I wasn't involved. I was just buying cigarettes. They finally let me go around 11 p.m. I walked back to my uncle's house in a daze, the sound of gunshots still ringing in my ears. Marcus died 2 days later in the hospital. I found out later what happened. He was wanted for a shooting that went down 3 weeks earlier outside a club in Tampa. Somebody got killed. Marcus swore it wasn't him, that he was there but didn't pull the trigger. Said it was his boy who did it, but his boy already skipped town and Marcus was the only one left holding the bag. He ran because he knew what happened to people who looked like him in situations like that. Guilty or not, it didn't matter. He ran because he was scared, and running got him killed. I went to his funeral. Open casket. His mama was there crying so hard she couldn't stand up on her own. His little sister read a poem she wrote about him. Talked about how he used to walk her to school every day when she was little. How he bought her first bike. How he always made sure she had what she needed. I stood in the back and didn't say anything to anyone. But I kept thinking about that look he gave me in the store. That tired look. Like he'd been running for so long he forgot what he was running from. I left Lakeland 2 weeks later. Went back to Atlanta. My uncle understood. I still think about Marcus sometimes. About how close I was to catching a bullet that wasn't meant for me. About how fast everything can go wrong when you're just trying to buy a pack of cigarettes at the wrong time. About how there's no such thing as being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes the place finds you, and sometimes you just happen to be standing there when everything falls apart. Follow Fear Ain't Fiction for more real horror.